In the last part, we saw Chu Xiao and Yuan Yue parted from the bridge and they were eager to meet each other soon. Chu Xiao's suspicions were finally confirmed. The chaos in Liang finally broke out at the Imperial Mausoleum in Meishang after 10 peaceful years. It came out of the blue, like a pot of cold water. Before the people inside could react in time, the pot of water was heated to its boiling point, implicating everyone within. At Hanshui, the conflict had escalated. After a few groups of cavalry troops trampled on the land, the city was destroyed, homes were torched. The fertile land was instantly turned to a barren wasteland. The prosperity of the city went up in smoke. On both sides of the roads, corpses of the civilians littered the ground. A pungent smell of blood could be detected amongst the decomposing bodies. The king of Lu had started a rebellion in Meishang. The residents, who did not want to be branded as rebels, brought their families and migrated towards Hanshui, only to realize that Shu Shu, one of his brothers-in-law, had taken over command of Hanshui Pass. The water crossing leading towards the east had been duly sealed off. The Liang troops located west of Hanshui Pass were disorganized and were happily defeated by the king of Lu at the city of Hong. The life of the Liang Empire hung by a thread. Chu Xiao and her party's journey was delayed as a result. Along the district of Hanshui, the civilians gathered in large numbers. As it was in the middle of summer, disasters were rampant within the city. In less than half a month, an epidemic broke out there. The noble aristocrats stayed in their houses, sending their servants to keep watch and patrol the areas. The inns and restaurants closed for business, causing rations to be in short supply. Chu Xiao and her party had no choice but to head towards the outskirts of the city. Luckily, they had prepared themselves for the long journey ahead. Their rations and tents were sufficient to tide them over. As the days passed, they heard all kinds of different rumors. When Pingan and the rest went into the city to gather intel, their efforts did not come to fruition. The rumors were diverse in nature. Some people claimed that Xiao Zhe had gathered an army of 800,000 elite cavalry troops in the east and that he was headed towards Hanshui for a rampage. Some people claimed that the king of Lu had massacred the Nanhui army at Jianshan a few days ago. The areas around Jingzhe, the city of Fei, Nanwang, Anxi country and the Sunset Mountains had been heavily affected. The army of the royal capital had suffered heavy casualties, while the survivors had surrendered. In less than 5 days, the army of the king of Lu was to conquer Hanshui. Others claimed that the big households in the southwest rendered support towards the Lu king's rebellion in the form of donating money and rations towards the cause. Due to their displeasure with the current fatuous ruler, they sent out their private troops to join the Meishang army, causing the king of Lu's army to be almost 1 million strong. More absurd theories claimed that Xiaoche was no longer in Tanjing and that he had fled to Wei with his concubines. The Song Empire had constructed a boat for him to escape to the seas. The people along Hanshui waited with bated breath. Although the rumors are not entirely valid, the army of the Lu king slowly approached Hanshui as each day passed. As the number of refugees entering the city decreased, it meant that the Lu king's army was starting to surround Hanshui. A major battle was about to ensue. After 7 days, the Lu king's army finally arrived at Quibble Slope, less than 40 kilometers away from Hanshui. However, they stopped there, showing no signs of head-on confrontation with General Xu Shu. On the other side, Han Shui did not show any sign of defeating towards the Lu king either. The heir suddenly entered a stalemate. Suddenly, the Shu army of the royal capital detected that something was amiss. General Shu was a general of the royal army who had followed old General Murong in his early years. If he stood on Xiaoche's side, their hopes of victory would have been greatly boosted. After 4 days, the commander of Shu army, Lu Bingguang, led 30,000 troops towards Quibble Slope, engaging in a fierce battle with the Lu king's army. Although they suffered heavy casualties, they managed to breach the defense line of their army to advance towards Hanshui. Evidently, they sided with the Hanshui troops. They wanted to protect the royal capital of Liang. However, another twist in the tale occurred that night. Out of the blue, a massacre which shook the entire continent of West Meng broke out in Hanshui. All of Lu Bingguang's 13,000 soldiers were slaughtered by Xu Shu that night, their blood staining Hanshui River red. Blood stains were even visible at the undercurrents of the river. Located more than 15 kilometers away, the mountain of corpses was sufficient to form a tall dam. Vultures congregated in the districts of Hanshui. In the middle of the night, they let out their sharp cries as they feasted on the decomposing corpses. It was a nightmarish sight. 3 days later, the king of Lu, seemingly convinced by Xu Shu's loyalty towards him, entered Hanshui with his army of 150,000. The day after, with the support of his troops, the king of Lu proclaimed himself as the ruler of the palace. As he conducted his ritual to ascend the throne, he became known as the king of Qinghen. 2 days later, the Meishang army, consisting of 200,000 troops, arrived at Hanshui to side with the king of Lu. Together with Xu Shu's army of 180,000 troops, the military forces of King of Lu approached 600,000 people. With this, the Liang Empire had been split into two, with each part colonized by a different ruler. 10 days later, the Liang Emperor Xiaoche could no longer stand such an unprecedented humiliation. He finally issued a declaration of war, with many scathing statements written within. he would be leading his troops personally to fight the war. Now, Xiao Jie is leading his troops to protect his country. Thank you so much for watching. Stay with me, subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thanks.